Thank you so much, Annie. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour, bozo. First of all, Annie, I want to say when we met while we were both doing city building at Civic Action, I remember saying to myself, this woman has a lot of energy. And how many years ago was that? That was a long time ago. She still has a lot of energy and passion for education. So it's really wonderful. I want to thank you for all the work that you do on behalf of our entire school system. Thank you so, so much. I want to recognize that Toronto is located on the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples dating back countless generations. I want to show respect for their contributions and recognize the role of treaties in forming Ontario and the fact that those treaties are still relevant to all of us today. It is such a pleasure for me to be here today. I was very, very much looking forward to this conversation. I know it is at the end of an intense day and you probably have a lot of things that you're thinking about, but I'm very, very much I'm very excited to share this message with you. And I want to thank you for staying until the end. Where is the gentleman that I hooked into coming back? There he is. He was on his way out to his Saturday evening, and I said, where are you going? I'm about to be on, and he turned back, and there you are. So, awesome. You know, I want to say thank you to People for Education for the work that you do on behalf of Ontario's education system, and that means all of you, because with the leadership that you're providing and essentially kind of holding our feet to the fire, that's how I see this organization, it is making the Ministry of Education, the system of education better. It is allowing us to take a look at this system, this amazing system of public education that we have, and it's allowing us to say, where can we improve? What are the things that really matter that we can improve? So strengthening public education is, I believe, one of the best investments that we can make in our province. And I'm thrilled to be part of a government and a team that makes public education a priority in this province. I have to tell you, since becoming Minister of Education, when the Premier called me and asked me to take on this role, that I see that support and that commitment for public education. And as we move forward, we're going to continue with that. So I want you to know that how serious we are about this work. Je suis heureuse d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. So, I know that, and I just saw Pat Case come in. I don't know where he went, but you know, you're still here. Thank you for being here, our ADM and lead of the Equity Secretariat. You're doing great work. So I know that today I'm alongside some amazing people who have incredible history in education. I look at Dr. Jean Clinton, who you've heard from, an internationally renowned educator, and specifically in the area of children and psychology, and giving her time and her commitment. I think I met you in Thunder Bay once at a parent conference, and you know, so I just want to say thank you, and all the others that are here today. There are policymakers, parents. Where are the parents? Thank you so much. I know you're here because we met on Wednesday night and you said you would be here today. And I know parents are here, parent leaders are here. I know there are people who work with our parent involvement committees are here. They're all here to talk about how we can make this system better. And then there are the experts, the researchers, the students. Any students here still? Yes, yes. Thank you for being here. Student voice really matters in our work in the ministry and to me personally as the Minister of Education. And I know that school boards are here. I've already touched base with a few of you. Some trustees are here. So in this room, very similar to our work at Civic Action, we have a diverse perspective on education, right? And that is really connected to the theme of this conference in making connections. I want that in my school. This reminds me that your theme reminds me of an experience I had visiting a community program in Regent Park for girls in STEM, and this particular session was focused on coding. And I was there to say hi to them as they were learning coding. And I remember going around to the tables, and there was a young girl, she was around 12. And so I sat with her, she was opening up her computer, and I said, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? And she says, I can't wait to get started. And I was like, wow, that sounds very intentional. So I said, start what? She says, coding for the first time. She says, I've been reading about this, I've been thinking about this, we're learning about it today, and this is the moment where I get to try it. How exciting is that? So I think about her sometimes because that type of excitement and engagement is what I want to see for all students. And I have to tell you that as I go across our system of education in the north, in rural Ontario, in our urban centers, I see that excitement in our students and in our young people. I see that energy and that commitment. And I also see very passionate teachers, EAs, secretaries as I go into the office, the principal, the vice principal. I actually see that kind of passion for learning across our system. So together we have built one of the best education systems in the entire world. In the entire world, Ontario's system. Do you know that? Because when I speak about Ontario's education, so sometimes I try to not, say it repeatedly because, you don't want to sound like you're bragging or anything, or. So I was at a conference recently, and we were talking once again about girls in STEM, actually, and I did not say that. I instead focused on the results that we were seeing and the trends in Ontario's education system and the investments that we were making in our students to build their capabilities in that space, like our commitment to broadband. So we've committed and announced that every student in the province would reach a standard of 1 meg per second for broadband access, right? Tremendous commitment. So as I was speaking, a lead international researcher from a US-based school, I believe it was Kellogg, he said to me, the Minister of Education for Ontario is being a little modest because he says whenever they look at education systems around the world, they look to Ontario. They look to Ontario's system to find out what we are doing and how they can improve. Because our system, it's a little messy, right? We are very committed to achievement, to equity. We have a diverse population, we have diverse geographies, we have schools in every part of this province. Yet, we make it work for all students. All students deserve the opportunity to have the best education, and that is our commitment. So, I just want you to know that the time that you're spending is really worth it. It's really worth it for us to take a step back and to look at our system that we've all worked on to get to this point and to say, how do we make it better? How do we make it better? How do we support students to develop a wide range of skills that they will need in the 21st century to succeed? Because because the world is changing. And it's changing rapidly. And we want Ontario students to be well prepared. So I look forward to continuing this dialogue because I believe that it is through this type of collaboration, this type of kind of pushing our system, that we will continue to improve our education system to support all students to reach their full potential. So, since becoming education minister, I want to say that I have made visiting schools a priority. And it's not because I don't want to be in the legislature or in the ministry doing briefings. But I actually find that by visiting those schools, that I get to see firsthand how students are learning. And now I actually feel kind of free to break away from the tour and pop into the classrooms. And sometimes when I do that, that's when I hear the most incredible things from students who have an opinion about their education, and they are not afraid to say it to the Minister of Education. Have you ever popped into a grade 7 class and stood in front of the room to ask their views? Well, they tell you what they think. I just want to say, I did that just a couple of weeks ago, and the grade 7 class, I said, how can we make our system better? And the first answer was better smart boards. And I can only agree, because if the smart board isn't keeping up with the lesson, it's actually getting in the way of the learning. And then that was from a boy in the class, and then a girl said, textbooks without errors. So I was like, okay, how can I argue with that? And then 2 students was like, well, we don't think we need the textbooks at all. Just put up the information on our iPads. So, grade 7, feedback to the Minister of Education. So I said to them, I'm going to go work on that. So, what I'm here to tell you today is about a few of the key priorities that the Premier and I had an opportunity to announce at the beginning of this school year. And it focuses on the combination of achievement and well-being and equity, and bringing those closer together in Ontario's education system. We already have a strategy, right? Achieving excellence, renewing the vision for education is our strategy, but we wanted to bring those pillars closer together. And part of doing that was, of course, a focus on staff and student well-being. Those are tied. We want our schools to be places of well-being for everyone. We also talked about a curriculum refresh along with changes to student assessment, as well as we announced Ontario's Education Equity Action Plan, which very much looks to our strategy of equity and inclusion. We already have a strategy, but we needed to underpin that with an action plan, and that is now out in the world, and we are working to achieve those actions. So this is all part of the plan to support students so that they can succeed. And in the context of an economy that is rapidly changing and that brings with it a whole set of challenges, Ontario's public education system is prepared to play a pivotal role. In fact, in some instances, a leading role in preparing the next generation of young people to be globally competitive, engaged, and prosperous as 21st century citizens. So back when I was in school, that was a long time ago, even although Rotman was not that long ago. It was in this century that I went to Rotman. But I remember how important it was for me to volunteer, to be active, to serve on my students' council, and to really help to shape the learning in my school. You know, and at the time, I didn't really think about it. It was just natural. It was something very natural for me to do. In fact, when I was in university at UTSC, at the University of Toronto Scarborough campus, my colleagues and I, we started a program called Mosaic. And Mosaic, and this was in the early 90s, when Scarborough, and Scarborough still is a destination for newcomers, but at the time, many people with Tamil heritage was coming into the community, and we were suffering from a little bit of xenophobia, where groups would just stay amongst themselves and not interact or combine. So as a Students' Council, we created a program called Mosaic, which was meant to keep the dialogue going. Well, more than 20 years later, it's one of the biggest activities on campus. So I met with the student leaders just yesterday, and they said that they've turned it from a day into a week, because it's so important to have that cross-cultural dialogue. So those types of hands-on experiences, those experiences that young people need are really important to connect what they're learning in the classroom to what is happening in the world around them.